Welcome to BIPOC Voices, Georgina. My name is Kendra Shea Marie Mullings. We've all added some new words to our everyday collective vocabulary over the past few years. Many of these words are misunderstood or at the very least require some clarification. But most of us, we're afraid or just unwilling to ask for more information or admit that we don't understand. One such word is allyship. What does it mean? What does it look like when it's misunderstood versus when it's understood? All of this and more coming up on BIPOC Voices, Georgina. Welcome back to BIPOC Voices, Georgina. I'm privileged to be here with award-winning youth social justice activist and Georgina resident, Elena Rennie. Welcome, Elena.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We are going to dive into a very important conversation about allyship. It's one you and I have had before, and I think your views and the way that you demonstrate allyship in your own way of being is important for the community to see. But before we even come to all of that, let's just kind of go back to the beginning here. What do we mean by youth social justice activists? Who are you?
That's a big word. I'd consider myself a youth social justice activist mainly because the work that I do focuses mainly on social justice as a whole, and I add the youth part in there because I'm a youth. A youth is anyone aged 15 to 30, so I'm still a youth. And what I do is I advocate for communities that may not have a voice or need someone to amplify their voice. I do a lot of different work. I've been on CBC Radio. I'm here with you today, which is a huge accomplishment. And I've done many other things in the community as well, joined multiple different community organizations, and just try my best to understand a variety of communities and better my own community as well.
It's so exceptional to see a young person taking on such important and valuable work in our world, in our society, but right here in our community in Georgina. How did all of this start for you? And when you say youth, you gave me a range. I think it's important for the community to know where exactly you fall in that youth range. And when did your work start? Let's start there.
My work started 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I'd say about late 2019, I really started getting into the idea of advocacy and what that would look like. I didn't have a social media platform or anything of that such, and at that time I was 12 going on 13. And then you came up with or started a Simcoe Landing Solidarity Walk after the elementary school in our community had been defaced and covered in homophobic, racist, everything you could think of, graffiti, and it was
I remember horrible. That was a tough time in our community, in our little neighborhood within Georgina. And
I didn't even know what had happened. I had just graduated from there, grade 8. My brother was still going there, so it really struck a chord with me. And I reached out to you and asked if you need anything. I really wanted to get involved, and you said, if you want to come and speak, you sure can. I said, okay, I will. Yeah. And I went to that event and I spoke. And I think from there, people were very shocked at my age. At the time, I was 13. I am now 16 years old. I turned 17 at the end of this. 16. I'm now 16. That was when I was 13. Freshly 13. Not really sure what I'm doing, navigating that world, especially as many people, thought I was an adult. I know you thought I was an adult.
I did.
And then my parents came, and you're like, oh, okay. But navigating that as someone that's still a young person, I think. And from there, I joined an organization called Black York Region Youth that you introduced me to, and I did a bunch of work for them. I recently just...
an understatement.
I recently just stepped back from that organization just to kind of focus on bigger projects and things. And they really, really taught me a lot and introduced me to so many incredible people. And I just grew from there in opportunities and experiences.
That's absolutely amazing. And I know for you, this is your day-to-day existence and your day-to-day life. So it kind of comes off kind of matter of fact. But I hope you understand how big and important and historical some of the things that you've done are, and how important they are to people like me who live in this world in black skin. And it's so wonderful to see someone actually exhibiting allyship and at such a young age, and then taking that added weight, because it is a weight upon their shoulders to go out into the world and educate on top of that. I just want to take that moment to commend you. I know I say it all the time and tell you how awesome you are all the time, but I really want you to take that in, right? Yeah, I'm exceptionally proud of you and everything that you've done, and I don't mind pausing for a second to let that sink in. Now, let's talk about allyship, right? What is it?
Allyship, to me, it's kind of changed the definition over the last couple of years, because I think I've learned that it's so much more an action than it is a word. I think in order to be an ally, you really need to be willing to do the work. And I guess in its essence, allyship is being someone that advocates and supports marginalized communities, usually that you're not typically part of, that you might not understand, and you make the effort to understand and listen to them and support them through advocacy. A lot of the times these communities are facing discrimination, and as an ally, you are taking on that role of being that voice for them. You're not the voice. You're not being a voice for them because they can't speak up. You're just being that extra kind of push to say, hey, I support these people, and I think you should as well. And it's really just standing up and supporting those communities and making sure you're doing the work as well.
Yeah. So it's being an upstander for communities, yes, whether you're a part of them or not.
Absolutely.
Right? If you're seeing something, you're saying something, you're calling it out. And when you talk about doing the work, yes, what does that mean? How do I do the work of allyship?
I think people kind of get scared to call themselves allies because they think that comes with a ton of commitment and work. And if you're someone like me, it is a lot of work, and I've been doing that. I chose to take that path because it's what I'm passionate about. But some people want to do it in a way that's smaller but still meaningful. And I think the example I'll use is the LGBTQ community. There's a lot going on there right now,
yeah,
and that community also has intersectionality. So you have Black queer people,
absolutely,
men, women, non-binary people, however you may identify in that community.
And you and I have done lots of work around that as well.
Absolutely. And let's say you live here and you're like, I'm really not agreeing with what's happening to that community. I want to show my support. You don't necessarily need to go to a protest, but at least for me as a queer person walking around Georgina, what I love to see is people flying flags outside their home.
Yeah.
Fly a pride flag, fly a Black Lives Matter flag, put some sort of sign out, because I think that's a big step, and some people might not be comfortable, but just letting the people that walk by know kind of silently that if something happens, you support them and you are with them.
That could be a safe space potentially.
Absolutely, and it can be a safe space for them to go. Even posting something as small in social media as following what's going on in your own country or other countries as well, educating yourself, huge, and educating the people around you as well. And another thing, if you hear someone saying something that's not right, don't be afraid to politely correct them, direct them to the correct website, or, hey, we don't use this terminology anymore. You can replace it with this word. But remember that it's not your place to always have to keep correcting people.
True.
If they don't want to correct themselves, all you can do is give them the resources and the tools, and it's up to them if they want to use that to better their own knowledge and allyship.
I couldn't agree more, right? There's no need, I've found in the work that you and I do together to push or force anything. You kind of offer the knowledge, offer the education, and then we allow ourselves to be receptive of those who then want to come in to seek more. We're available for that, right? I think that's really wonderful, and I love how you've grown, because from the outside, watching you grow from the Solidarity Walk, when we first met, I did think you were an adult when we were talking on Facebook Messenger. So when you tapped me on the shoulder and I turned around, and it was in my mind at that moment, a little girl, not to say that in a condescending way, I was like, what? I thought I was talking to, and I was, but it shows how my mindset has shifted. I thought I was talking to a woman, my own age group, similar experiences. Where did that knowledge that you possessed at 13 years old, to have that conversation that you had with me, I'll share it with you one day. I still have the conversation. I was in absolute shock when you tapped me on the shoulder and I turned around and you were a child. Where did that come from at that point in your life?
Honestly, I am very blessed to have the kind of family dynamic that I do. And I'm gonna, I love my family. My parents have raised me. They're incredible people.
Yeah.
Rob and Mel, Rennie, I love them so much. I'll always shout them out.
I was talking to your mom this morning at like 8 a.m.
Rob and Mel, Rennie, I always shout them out. My brother, my nanny, my granddad, they always kind of raised me in a way to always ask questions.
Yeah.
I was never told like, oh no, you don't need to know that right now, or we'll tell you when you're older. It was like, okay, if you really want to know, they'd explain it to me in a way that I could understand for whatever age I'm at.
It's so important.
It is really important.
To not have that mentality. In my generation, children were seen and not heard, except for my grandpa. My grandpa told me everything all the time, and I could ask all the questions. I'm glad that you had that too.
That's exactly like my granddad before he passed away. Sorry about that. We would have conversations about everything, and he was a really big push. And I think, and I'll always remember like my parents as well. They would not talk to me as a child. They would talk to me like they were talking to an adult.
Like a person. You treat your children like people,
Absolutely.
Not property, right?
And I was never talked down to. There's no baby talk. It was just talking to me like an adult.
Yeah.
And they raised me to be friends with everyone and play with the kids that I wanted to play with.
Critically, think for yourself.
I think there was one time where I saw like two women when I was young, like out holding hands, and I asked my mom, I was like, why are they holding hands? And my mom was like, well, they might be friends, they might be going somewhere, or they might be in love, you don't know, and we accept those people. And I just, okay.
Yeah.
And that's just how I grew up, just loving and accepting everyone. I grew up with people of all races and all genders, and it was never really a question to me to think lesser of them because of this, that, or
That's amazing.
anything.
I agree with that. The proof is in the pudding. So my parenting style is like your parents' parenting style, very much so. And I, especially I was a young mom, so I got a lot of criticism about my parenting style. But the proof is in the pudding when I look at people, young people like you and young people like my daughter Hannah, and the way that you carry yourselves in the world and the way that you truly are mindful and care about people. It's wonderful, and it's nice to know that we can tell Georgina exactly where it starts, right? Yeah. It starts right in the home, in the family, with the people that you're around all the time. Yeah, I think it's really wonderful. And when we come back now into allyship, so I think you learned allyship probably from your parents, right? That's what it sounds like to me, and your family life. So now you're 12 or 13 years old, you have that upbringing, you have that knowledge. What was that trigger to push you out into the world now to stand up for something, to use your allyship? What brought you to use it?
I think really it was seeing that solidarity walk. I think something in me was like, I had no idea something like that could happen like 2 minutes from my house.
Literally.
Literally 2 minutes from my house. I had no idea something like that could happen. And I said to my parents, I was like, this is happening, maybe we should go to it. And my parents were like, okay, sure, we're not doing anything, let's go. You want to talk at it, like, go ahead. And they were there and they supported me. And from there I was a little bit iffy on joining BYR Youth, just because
I offered it to you right away. I was so excited.
It was very sudden. I was also so young as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know how to navigate that.
Yeah.
And I think joining BYR Youth, that really helped shape me into realizing what I want to do and allyship, because seeing and listening to the experiences of so many young Black people.
Yeah.
And
like we have members as young as 13 all the way up to 21.
Exactly. And hearing their experiences, similar, many of them, but also so different, it really made me realize how much privilege I sit in. And I wanted to use that for something for good. And I wanted to use that for something where I could help people and help them and make sure that they know that I hear them and I see them and that I'm here to advocate for them.
We need to put you on a bullhorn and have you ride around Georgina. 16 years old, you understood this from 13 years old. The proof is in the pudding of how you were raised. And I think you have such an important grasp and understanding of what allyship is. At the root of allyship, do you think it's a difficult concept? Do you think it's hard to be an ally?
I don't think it's hard, but I think you have to be willing to you can't just call yourself an ally. There's things you can do, and if you don't want to do big things, do the little things.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do what I'm doing and you don't want to be all out there and on social media and pushing, then don't. But there's still things you can do that are small but definitely meaningful.
Yeah. Is there one thing that we could do to be allies? Just give me one word.
Educate.
Educate.
Yeah.
That's a great word.
Yeah.
I'm profoundly moved by our discussion, and I can't wait to continue it in just a few moments. Georgina, I hope you're listening. 16-year-old Georgina's own youth social justice activist, Elena Rennie, is talking to us, educating us on how to be an ally. Welcome back to BIPOC Voices, Georgina. I'm so excited to just jump right back into this discussion that I'm having with Georgina's youth social justice activist, Elena Rennie. We were talking about allyship and diving into that. And I really want to ask you, as a youth, is it challenging in your work? Is it challenging when you go out there and speak? Are people listening to you? Is it hard? Are there any challenges around that?
In the beginning, it was really hard to get people to listen, mostly because they'd see me and they'd know, like, I kind of mentioned my age and some of the work that I do. Sometimes I make a point not to. Mm-hmm. And then what I've seen when I not mention my age, I'm listened to a lot more than when I do mention my age. And I think it's because people hear a youth and they're like, oh, you don't know anything. You're so young. Like, you're still figuring out which I am, but I'm not.
But we all are, though.
I'm not, like, ignorant. I know what I'm talking about. I know what topics I want to talk about and how I want to talk to you. And if you don't want to listen, that's okay, but I'm still going to keep talking and advocating and doing the work that I do in the community. And I do it in a bunch of ways. I do it on social media. Yeah. I've been growing my following on there. Do it on my own organizations. So
you just keep your message coming.
Yeah.
That's how you make sure that you're heard, because it is a thing in our society that people look at kids. We talked about it. Should be seen, not heard. They don't really know anything.
Absolutely.
Which is really odd for me, coming from a Caribbean and Afrocentric culture, because in our culture, we know that the children are the ancestors, right? They're the ones that passed before us and came back through again, is how we look at it. So of course they're wiser than I am, and of course they should be revered and listened to. They're holding the knowledge and they haven't forgotten, like me. So in doing all this really intense and heavy work, I know I do this work. It weighs heavy on you. It's heavy on your shoulders. It cuts into family life. It cuts into sleep, right? But there's something in you, that fire that drives you. It's the justice piece. It's the wanting equity in the world and equality and not being able to stand justice. How do you deal with the burnout as a youth? I deal with it as an adult in my own ways. As a youth, from the time you're 12 years old in this work, how do you deal with burnout? Have you experienced it?
Yeah, I think now looking back on it, I think I have, and more than once, because when you put yourself into so much work all the time and you're constantly doing that work and you're so committed to it, you can get really burnt out easily. And burnout, you're running out of, as for people that don't know, you're running out of ideas. You're really running out of fuel. Like, you're running out of, like, if you're running out of sleep, you're running out of ideas, and then you just come to a crashing hole.
You're coming on empty
because you can't do anything.
Yeah, you
just feel stuck.
Yeah,
and I've experienced that many times before. And it's a lot different when you're young, because I know for me, I work 2 jobs right now. I have my family, I have my grandparents, and, having to say, like, I'm really sorry I have to work on this, but, I already had other plans. It's really, really difficult, and it takes a significant toll on your mental health. And I think as I've gotten older, I've definitely learned when I'm going to get to that burnout point, and that's when I know, okay, I have to stop. It's not because I don't love what I'm doing. It's because I need to take time for myself again. And if I don't center myself, I'm not going to have my ideas, and, my passion is going to go away. And I don't want my passion to go away. And that's why it's important that if you're getting to that stuck point, you have to take a step back and go back to your roots, and whether that's people or a location that you are most grounded with, you got to go back to that.
You know, Elena, that is such a mature perspective. I love that you were able now, through experience, to recognize the burnout ahead of time, that awareness that it's approaching, and that you can make that shift, and you're okay with allowing yourself to stop, take a break, and your passion does come back, right? Your passion 100% comes back. So I love it. Oprah's right when she says, like, if you can't think of what to do, do nothing. Yeah, we're going to continue this conversation with Elena's final thoughts coming up on BIPOC Voices, Georgina. Welcome back, Georgina. I'm here with Elena Rennie, and I want to hear your final thoughts on this subject of allyship. And I want to ask you, what advice would you give to youth looking to get into or feeling called to stand up in advocacy work? What advice, what would you say to them?
I'd first say, make sure that you know kind of, if allyship's really what you want to get into, make sure you know like what allyship is and why. You have to have a reason. I think that's a really important place to start, because if you don't have a reason, you won't have that passion to keep it going. And once you have that reason, I think if there's a specific topic or a specific group that you want to focus on and advocate for, reach out to members of that community or find an organization that kind of works with that group and see, you know, do they need any help? Are they looking for members? Can I sit in on a meeting or sit in on a conversation and see how you guys have the flow going and what you're talking about? And from there, you'll usually, at least for me, I found kind of that spark, and I was like, okay, well, that's what I want to focus on. I'll continue on that and use what platforms you're strongest at. So for me, it's social media. I'm confident in using that platform. I've built up that platform. But if you're someone that's more specific to YouTube, make videos. If you're someone that's more specific to blogging or just writing, make a blog, make a
so know your why, get the information out there.
Know your why, get the information out there, and make sure that you're continuously educating yourself and learning throughout the way, because you're not going to go into it knowing everything. You're going to learn so many different things along the way, and it's important that you know that you can't do everything for that community in one go. It's going to be a hard run. You're going to have to learn things. You're going to have to learn how to navigate. There's going to be things you're going to find out that are going to probably make you very angry, very upset, and the fact that you can't control them is going to make it even worse. But you have to understand that that is where you can really pick up and make sure that in your own community you're bettering it. And I think starting where you are is really important if you can't get out there.
That's absolutely amazing, and I couldn't agree with you more. Thanking you so much for taking the time to have this conversation about allyship with me. I think all of Georgina needs to hear it, and I think a great place to start with allyship, no matter how hard it might seem, is with yourself. First, be an ally to yourself. Be kind to yourself, compassionate to yourself, take care of yourself, and then extend that out into society. Thank you for joining us on BIPOC Voices, Georgina. See you next time.